What's up, guys? Welcome to session 2 of the How to Read Your Bible series. Last week in session 1 we looked at the big picture and the tool that we got was this. First, as you come to a passage, you must locate it within the grand story of the entire Bible. Well, today in session 2 we're going to zoom in a bit. We're going to look a bit at the smaller picture, if you want to call it that. And our intention is this. Our intention is to get closer to what the author's intention was. Our goal is to get closer to what the author's original intention was. The way in which we're going to do this is by 3 new tools. The first one, author. The second one, audience. And the third one, genre. I'm going to go through those 3 quick and we'll chat about them. So tool number 1, know who your author is. Now, this is not always possible, but most of the time it is possible. And the reason why it's important to know who the author is because if you know your author, you'll be able to better understand the relationship between the author and between the people who he's writing to. So think about it this way. A letter that I write you would be different compared to a letter that one of your school teachers write you, would be different compared to a letter that, say, your boyfriend or your girlfriend would write you. You'd read them all in a different way because your relationship with all 3 of those people are different. I'm a youth leader of yours. Your school teachers teach you, and your boyfriend or your girlfriend you're in a relationship with. And so you'll read all of those different letters differently because of the relationship that you have with those people. And so when it's possible, this is going to help us a lot to get closer to what the author intends when he writes to these people. That's the first tool. The second tool is this. Know your audience. Know your audience if you are able to. This is really important, especially as we get to the Old Testament. A lot of the time, the Old Testament could be difficult to understand because we don't always recognize that the Old Testament was actually written to Israel first, before it was written for us. And so we'll often say things apply to us, or we need to do certain things that actually God commanded Israel to do. God didn't command us to do. And so it's important for us to understand the author. Likewise in the New Testament. Parts of the New Testament are written to everyone. Parts of the New Testament are only written to Christians in a church. And parts of the New Testament are even written to individuals. And depending on who the audience is, we're going to read it in a different way. We'll understand it in a certain way. It gives us a bit of an insight into what the author's intention was. So that's tool number 2. Tool number 3 is know your genre. Now, some of you guys might not know what a genre is. A genre is basically just different types of a similar thing. So if you think about movies and series, for example, you get different genres of movies and series. You get romantic movies, you get comedies, you get actions and thrillers and dramas and horrors. And the list goes on and on and on. And depending on what genre it is, it's going to give you an insight into the intention of the person who put it together. And so the intention of a comedy is to make you laugh. The intention of a horror or a drama or an action is to make you sit on the edge of your seat and wait to see what's going to happen next. No one watches a comedy on the edge of their seat waiting to see what's going to happen next. And likewise, no one watches a horror laughing through the entire thing as if it's a comedy, unless it's a really bad horror movie. And so, depending on the genre, it gives us the intention of the author. The Bible is much the same. There's different genres within the Bible. There are stories and poems and letters. And depending on the genre, it's going to give us a bit of an insight into what the author wants, what the author intends as he writes this thing, whatever he writes. And so those are our three tools. Know your author, know your audience, and know your genre. And that's also the challenge for this week. Spend some time reading the first couple of verses in Philippians, perhaps read the first chapter, and see if you can answer those three questions. See if you can answer who wrote it, who did they write it to, and what type of a piece of writing is it. And then on Friday, on our WhatsApp chat, we'll dig into those a little bit more and chat about specifically why it's important for us to know those three things as we study the book of Philippians. Cool, guys. We'll chat on Friday.